So after 40 years, literally 40 years of wandering, the nation of Israel is standing right on the edge of the Promised Land. But it's not as simple as just walking across the Jordan River. There are final preparations to be made, battles to fight, laws to establish, and really a national identity to solidify. Okay, let's dive into these final, absolutely crucial chapters of the book of Numbers and see exactly how a nation gets ready to claim its divine inheritance.
So here's how we're going to break it down, chapter by chapter. We'll look at a holy war against the Midianites, then a serious test of tribal unity. After that, we'll see a look back at their 40-year journey, then a blueprint for their new home, and finally, an amazing system of justice and a last legal ruling that holds their whole heritage together.
First up, chapter 31. And we need to be clear, this isn't just another battle for land. The text frames it as a holy war, and it's all about divine judgment, spiritual purification, and this incredible, meticulous, God-given order. God gives Moses one of his final commands: avenge the children of Israel of the Midianites. Now you have to ask why. This wasn't a war for territory. It was a direct judgment. Remember, it was the Midianites, on the advice of the prophet Balaam, who deliberately seduced Israel into idolatry and immorality back at Peor. That sin led to a devastating plague. So for Moses, this task is both personal and final. God tells him, "Afterward shalt thou be gathered unto thy people." Now, what happens after the battle is what's really fascinating here. God commands this incredibly detailed and orderly division of the spoils. The scale is just immense. We're talking over 675,000 sheep, 72,000 cattle. But it's the precision that's truly staggering. Everything is split perfectly in half. One part for the soldiers who fought, the other for the community waiting back at camp. And from each of those halves, a precise tribute is given to God. 1 out of every 500 from the soldiers' portion goes to the priests, and 1 out of every 50 from the communities goes to the Levites. It's a powerful statement that even in the chaos of war, God's principles of order, fairness, and provision are absolute. So, what's the big takeaway here? Well, first, God's judgment against those who intentionally lead his people into sin is severe and uncompromising. The chapter also hammers home that holiness requires total purification, both physically and spiritually. The soldiers had to be cleansed for 7 days, and for Moses, it's one last, tough lesson that real leadership sometimes means you have to carry out God's difficult commands right to the letter. Okay, let's switch gears. In chapter 32, the narrative shifts from a battle with an outside enemy to a major conflict within the nation itself, a moment that really puts the unity of the 12 tribes to the test. Imagine this. The tribes of Reuben and Gad have massive herds of livestock. They look at the fertile grazing land east of the Jordan and see a perfect home. So they go to Moses and basically say, "Hey, this land is perfect for us. Can we just settle here and not cross the Jordan?" I mean, for a nation that has to be united to conquer Canaan, this request isn't just a problem, it's a potential disaster. And Moses, well, he is furious. He doesn't just hear a simple request. He hears the echo of that catastrophic failure at Kadesh Barnea, where fear and faithlessness doomed an entire generation to die in the wilderness. He's afraid their selfishness will provoke God's anger all over again. But the tribes, seeing his reaction, quickly make a powerful vow. They say, "Look, we'll build pens for our cattle and towns for our families, and then we will arm ourselves and lead the charge across the Jordan. We will fight on the front lines until every other tribe has its inheritance." Moses accepts their deal, but he seals it with this unforgettable warning, one of the most famous verses in the entire book. It just underscores the incredible weight of their promise. This isn't just a deal with a human leader. It's a covenant made before God, and breaking it will have consequences they can't possibly escape. This whole incident brilliantly illustrates that age-old tension between what I want and what the community needs. The solution shows that our individual needs can be met, but never, ever at the expense of the group's mission. It's just a powerful lesson in unity, integrity, and the sacred duty of keeping your word. Now, here's where things take a really fascinating turn. Before Israel can march forward into their future, God commands Moses to do something profound. He has to write down their past, a complete stop-by-stop record of their entire journey from Egypt. On the surface, if you just read it, this chapter can feel like a really dry travel log, right? Just a list of over 40 places they stopped. But when you look closer, you see it's so much more than a map. It's a memorial. It hits all the key moments: the triumphant exodus from Ramses, the miracle at the Red Sea, the giving of the law at Mount Sinai, the tragic rebellion at Kadesh, the death of Aaron at Mount Hor, and their final arrival right here on the plains of Moab. It's a journey that was marked by both divine miracles and, frankly, a lot of human failure.
So why do this? Why write it all down? Because for this new generation, the one about to face the giants of Canaan, remembering God's faithfulness through every single step, even through the years of punishment, was the only foundation for trusting him in the battles to come. And the chapter ends with this forceful reminder of their mission. When you get in the land, you have to completely drive out the inhabitants and destroy their idols. No compromise.
So after cementing their history, God turns their eyes to the horizon. That abstract promise of a land is about to become a concrete reality with specific, clearly defined borders. This is literally God's blueprint for their future home. He draws the map right here in the text. The southern border, the western border at the Mediterranean Sea, the northern border, and the eastern border along the Jordan River. But, a map is useless without leaders to execute the plan. So God also sets up the chain of command for dividing the land. Eleazar the priest, Joshua son of Nun, and one designated leader from each of the inheriting tribes. It's all laid out.
And the point here is so powerful. It shows that God's promises aren't just vague hopes. They are specific, detailed, and trustworthy realities. He doesn't just promise a home, he provides a map. He doesn't just give them a mission, he appoints godly leaders to carry it out. His plans are always meticulous and always dependable.
So they have the land and they have the leadership, but what kind of society are they actually going to build? Chapter 35 lays out a key part of their legal framework, and it focuses on a revolutionary system that balances pure justice with really profound mercy. A key piece of this is setting up 48 cities for the Levites, who, remember, didn't get a tribal land inheritance. But 6 of these cities have this unique, special purpose. They are designated as cities of refuge. Think of them like a divinely ordained safe house. If someone killed another person by accident, they could run to one of these cities to escape the avenger of blood, a family member seeking immediate revenge, and be guaranteed a fair trial.
And this is where we see a legal system that was frankly way ahead of its time.
The law makes this critical distinction, one that's foundational to modern justice. The difference between intentional murder, born of hatred or premeditation, which demanded the death penalty, and unintentional manslaughter. For that, the city of refuge provided sanctuary, preventing endless blood feuds and making sure the punishment actually fit the intent of the crime.
So what does all this tell us? Well, first, God establishes that all human life has immense value, and justice is absolutely required for innocent blood. But he also teaches that true justice isn't about raw vengeance. It's a measured process, one that's tempered with mercy, and it holds the entire community responsible for making sure it's fair.
And that brings us to the final chapter of Numbers, which resolves one last loose end, a crucial legal detail that was needed to ensure God's system of order and inheritance would stay intact for all future generations.
So remember the daughters of Zelophehad? They successfully argued for their right to inherit their father's land, which was a huge deal. But their landmark victory created a new, unforeseen legal puzzle. The leaders of their tribe, Manasseh, come forward with a really valid point. If these women who inherited land marry men from other tribes, their land, which was God's sacred allotment to Manasseh, will permanently transfer out of their tribe. So how do you protect both the women's rights and the tribe's inheritance?
The solution God provides through Moses is just so simple and so smart. It's elegant. The daughters are granted the freedom to marry whomever they choose with just one condition. They have to marry within their own tribe of Manasseh. This one simple rule brilliantly upholds 2 divine principles at the same time: the just right of women to inherit and the sacred integrity of the tribal land allotments. And so the book of Numbers ends. Israel has been judged, purified, and organized. Their leadership is in place, their land is mapped out, their laws are set. The stage is set. All the preparations are complete. The only question left, just hanging in the air over the Jordan River, is the one the book of Joshua is about to answer. Do they now have the faith to finally cross over and claim the promise?